Good morning. Our topic is about the Presidential Decree number 1594 or the prescribing policies, guidelines, rules and regulations for government infrastructure contracts, wherein existing laws, legislations, and regulations on government contracts for generally infrastructure and other development programs are fragmented and have been found to be insufficient to deal with the dynamic and complex process involved, wherein in order to ensure more efficient and successful execution of this project, we need to follow a detailed, uniform, and revised sets of policies, guidelines, rules, and regulations covering government contracts for infrastructures and other constructions projects. The former Philippine President Ferdinand E. Marcos signed the paper as follows. Under the Section 1 Policy Objectives, it is the government's strategy to follow a set of laws and rules regulation covering infrastructure government contracts and other construction projects, bring about maximum efficient in project implementation and minimize project costs and contract variation through sound practices in contract management, promote a healthy partnership between the government and the private sector in furthering national development, and enhance the growth of the local construction industry and optimize the use of indigenous manpower, materials, and other resources. Section 2, Detailed Engineering. No offering as well as grant of the agreement for the development project will be made except if the point-by-point designing examinations, reviews, plans for the undertaking have been adequately done as per guidelines, and particularly to be set under the guidelines and the guidelines to be declared as per the Section 12 of this decree to limit the amount and cost imposed and underruns, change requests, and additional work orders, and except if the point-by-point designing reports have been endorsed by the Ministry of Public Works, Transportation, and Interchange, the Ministry of Public Highways, of the Ministry of Energy, and all things considered.
Prequalification of prospective contractors. A prospective contractor may pre-qualify to offer his bid or tender for a construction project only if he meets the following requirements. Legal requirements. The prospective contractors must have been licensed as a contractor for the current year pursuant to Republic Act No. 4566, must have paid his privilege tax to practice or engage in the contracting business for the current year, must comply with the Administrative Orders No. 66 of the Office of the President of the Philippines, and must comply with other existing pertinent laws, rules, and regulations. Technical requirements. The prospective contractors must meet the following technical requirements to be established in accordance with the rules and regulations to be promulgated pursuant to Section 12 of this decree to enable him to satisfactorily prosecute the subject project. Number 1. Competency and experience of the contractors in managing projects similar to subject project. Competency and experience of the constructor, key personnel to be assigned to the subject project. Availability and commitment of the constructor's equipments to be used for the subject project. Financial requirements. The net worth and liquid assets of the prospective contractors must meet the requirements to be established in accordance with the rules and regulations to be promulgated pursuant to Section 12 of this decree to enable him to satisfactorily execute the subject project. The prospective contractors may be allowed to cover the deficiency in the required net worth through a line of credit fully committed to the subject project by a bank or financial institution acceptable to the ministry concerned. Filipino participation. The government shall promote maximum participation of eligible Filipino contractors in all construction projects. Section 4. Bidding construction projects shall generally be undertaken by contract after competitive public bidding. Projects may be undertaken by administration or force account or by negotiated contracts only in exceptional cases where time is of the essence or where there is lack of qualified bidders or contractors, or where there is a conclusive evidence that greater economy and efficiency would be achieved through this arrangement. and in accordance with provision of laws and acts on the matters, subject to the approval of the Ministry of Public Works, Transportation, and Communication, the Minister of Public Highways, or the Minister of Energy, as the case may be, if the project cost is less than 1 million pesos, and of the President of the Philippines upon the recommendation of the Minister if the project cost is 1 million pesos or more. A bidder's bond in an amount to be established in accordance with the rules and regulations to be promulgated pursuant to Section 12 of this decree shall accompany the bid to guarantee that the successful bidder shall within a prescribed period from receipt of the notice of the award enter into account and furnish the requirement performance bond for the faithful and complete prosecution of the work specified in the contract documents.
Section 5 Award and Contract. Section 5 is stated that the contract may be awarded to the lowest pre-qualified bidder whose bid as evaluated complies with the terms and conditions in the call for bid and the most advantageous to the government. For short explanation, pre-qualified bidder is the partnership, corporation, any other juridical entity or consortium that participate in the building process. Section 5 also stated that in order to ensure the work of the contractor, it is also necessary to show activities in accordance with rules and regulations that will be issued under Section 12. All awards and contracts properly executed in conformance with the condition of this decree shall be subject to the approval of the Minister of the Public Works, Transportation, and Communications, the Minister of Public Highways, or the Minister of Energy, as the case may be. Section 6. Assignment and Subcontract. This section is stated that in case the contractor assign, transfer, deals, or create an agreement with subcontractors and act of any interest in a proposed project, it is requires the approval of the Minister of the Public Works, Transportation, and Communications, the Minister of the Public Highway, or the Minister of Energy. And in dealings, the main contractor shall have no obligation or any responsibility for something especially by law under the contractor's contract with the government. It also is stated that the contractor will have negotiations with the subcontractor and with government, not the main contractor. Section 7. Responsibility of the contractor. This section is stated that the contractor is responsible for the construction in progress until it's finished and until the government finally accepts it. The contractor is responsible for any damage to work other than the force majeure. Force majeure is a common clause in contracts that essentially frees both parties from liability or obligation when extraordinary event or circumstances beyond control of the parties or an event described by the term act of God. And lastly, the section is stated that the contractor is fully responsible for the safety, protection, security, convenience of his personnel, third parties, the public at charge, the works, equipments, installation, and the like to be affected by his construction work.
Adjustment of contract price. Adjustment of contract price for construction projects may be authorized by the Minister of Public Works, Transportation, and Communication, or the Minister of Public Highways, as the case may be, the Minister of Energy, upon recommendation of the National Economic Development Authority, if during the effectivity of the contract, the cost labor, equipment, materials, and supplies required for the construction should increase or decrease due to direct acts of the government. The adjustment of the contract price shall be made using appropriate formulas established in accordance with the rules and regulations to be promulgated under Section 12 of this decree. Possible po yung adjustment ng contract price kapag po yung cost labor, equipment, materials, and supplies na gagamitin po para sa construction ay magtataas ng presyo o bababa. Pwede po siyang i-authorize ng Minister of Public Works, Transportation, and Communication, o ng Minister of Public Highways o minsan po Minister of the Energy. At yung pag-a-adjust po ng presyo, nakadepende po yan sa rules and regulation ng ating Section 12. Change order and extra work order. A change order or extra work order may be issued only for work necessary for the completion of the project and therefore shall be within the general scope of the contract bidded and awarded. All changes order and extra work orders shall be subjected to the approval of the Minister of Public Works, Transportation and Communication, the Minister of Public Highways, or the Minister of Energy as the case may be. Itong change order and extra work order naman po, ginagawa po siya kapag meron pong kailangang trabaho na gawin para matapos po yung project. Pero kailangan muna po siyang i-approve ng Minister of Public Works, Transportation and Communication o na Minister of Public Highways o kaya naman po sa ibang case po, Minister of Energy.
Section 10. Inspection and Construction of Contract Work. According to ISO 9001, year 2000, it is mandatory to implement an appropriate inspection to ensure quality. Not looking ways to reduce costs, it is essential to know that although cost is important, it cannot be compromised for cost. Therefore, Section 10 is to ensure that the construction work is carried out accordance to approved plans, specification, and standard. Section 11. Government's right to take over contract work. Almost every federal government contains a clause allowing termination for convenience or default. Termination for convenience, allowing the federal government to terminate all part of contract for its convenience. While terminating for default, it means that the government doesn't think you're performing adequately. Section 12. Implementing Rules and Regulation. The Minister of Public Works, Transportation and Communication as the lead official, the Minister of Public Highways, the Minister of Energy, and the Director General of the National Economic and Development Authority shall jointly promulgate the rules and regulations to implement the provision of this decree. Once approved by the President of the Philippines, these implementing rules and regulations shall be applicable to all contracts for infrastructure and other construction projects for all government agencies, including government-owned or controlled corporations and other instrumentalities.
Separability clause. If any provision of this decree is held unconstitutional, the other provision shall remain valid. In any provision in this agreement or in the unit certificate or the purchase contract shall be invalid, illegal, or unenforceable. The validity, illegality, enforceability, or the remaining provision hereof and thereof shall not in a way affected or impaired thereby. Section 14. Repealing clause. All acts, charters, decree, letters of instruction, executive orders, proclamation, rules and regulation, or parts thereof in conflict with the provision of this decree are hereby repealed or modified accordingly. All previous bylaw of the corporation, except such bylaws of the corporation has been confirmed by the shareholders are repealed as of coming into force by its law, provided such repeal shall not affect the previous operation of any bylaw repealed or affect the validity of any act done or right, privilege, obligation, or liability acquired or incurred under or the validity of any contract agreement made pursuant to any by such law prior to its repeal. All officer and persons acting under by law so repealed shall continue to act as if appointed under the provision of this bylaw, and all resolution of the shareholders or board with continuing effect under repealed bylaw shall continue good and valid except to the extent inconsistent with the bylaw and until amended or repealed. Effectivity. This decree shall take immediately